What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus More Phenomenal, your weekend stop for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, and Kamen Rider news and reviews right here on our YouTube page. It is I, your more phenomenal host, Adam Perez, and damn it, it's pretty great to be a human. Can't even lie today. It feels great, guys. Thank you very much for certainly joining me each and every weekend here, hopefully kicking your weekend off right. I hope everybody got the opportunity to check out Power Rangers Beast Morphers earlier this morning. Season 2, episode number 16, if I'm not mistaken, titled The Silva Switch. We're going to get into this episode, to say the least. I need to gush about this episode for quite some time today. So just humor me, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, I apologize to everybody for last weekend not being able to go ahead and bring a live episode of A Plus More Phenomenal. Some of the topics that we'll talk about today may be from last week that we wanted to go ahead and recycle for this week, because I didn't feel like there was a ton of huge news that wind up dropping this week, honestly. So since I didn't get the opportunity to talk about some of these topics last week, I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and dive into them today, along with a brand new episode review. And for those of you who did miss our some of our videos this past week, we did in fact tackle episode number 15, Going Ape. We did review that for the channel. That's up there. And then we also did a combo review, a dual review, if you will, of the Boom Studios comic books, Mighty Morphin issue number 1 and Power Rangers issue number 1. Also, that video is also on our YouTube page, so certainly go ahead and check that out, guys. We've got about maybe 4 topics or so that we're going to be breaking down today, and of course, taking your guys' live viewer questions. How do you want to have a question of yours answered live on air? I'm glad you asked. Feel free to go ahead and submit your questions over to us at aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com. And towards the end of the episode, we'll certainly go ahead and take your questions. Every once in a while, I will jump into the comment section and highlight some of the things that you guys are saying. But if you definitely want to make sure that your question and comment gets talked about live on air, submit them over to aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com. And again, we will go ahead and get to those questions towards the end of the episode. And of course, you guys know what we love to do here. Let's give some shout outs, man, to anybody that's certainly joining us live today. We got Blossom in the house. What's up, L'Oreal? Certainly good to see you, certainly coming through. Fire Drake, what's up, Drake? Good to see you in the house also. Edward Sanchez, oh, it's great to be a human. Yes, sir, it certainly is. We got Matthew in the house also. Power Rangers in your area, what's up, Alec? We got Shadow Nova Productions making their presence known also. Doomsday certainly in the house. He says, I wanted to hop in for a second to say that I love this body swap episode, and tomorrow's my 16th birthday. Well, happy early birthday, Doomsday. Thank you very much for spending your time with us here today, and I hope despite everything that's going out there, you're able to enjoy your birthday tomorrow, man. So happy birthday for sure. Who else is in here real quick? Devin, what's up, Devin? Appreciate it. Good seeing you. We got JB says what in the house also. But yes, thank you, Matthew. Yes, I don't want to say I'm doing 100% better. I do think like there's a lot of stuff currently going on in my life that has just an emotional roller coaster mentally. It's been really draining, honestly. But hopefully in time, things will certainly improve. So I decided, you know what? I have to go ahead and give you guys some content this weekend, even though this was a pretty busy week for us in general. I feel like every day, with the exception of Monday, we had brand new content to deliver for you guys. So thank you very much for everybody enjoying the content that we've been putting out there. But before we get into this week's breakdown and reviews of all the news and things like that, do me a big favor, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do yourselves a favor, hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification, so when we do drop a brand new video, you'll certainly be notified. And of course, if you love our content and you love these videos, hit that thumbs up, guys. Give us that big like so YouTube can certainly recognize our work. Other than that, guys, I think it's time for us to dive into this week's episode. And let's kick off, man, with talking some Beast Morphers season 2, episode number 16, The Silva Switch. You guys saw it at the top of the video. If you watch the thumbnail, if you watch the title, I proposed the question, best episode of the era. Guys, let me just say real quick, I love this episode, and I know there's going to be plenty of people out there that certainly don't don't agree with me in a sense, and that's certainly more than fine. Again, these are just always my A+ opinions. You guys are certainly welcome to your own, but I had to gush about this episode real quick because this was unlike anything that I feel I've seen in Power Rangers in such a long time. There is so much value in the idea of taking a really bold risk to do something outside the box that I feel like Power Rangers has never really done before. Like, I went on YouTube and I put in Power Rangers musicals to see if I've seen any other musical numbers in Power Rangers, because I was just really drawing a blank, to be honest with you. I mean, I've seen Power Ranger performances before, right? Like, we've seen one person on stage with like a band, maybe a guitar, performing a song and things like that. But I've never legit seen just an outbreak of a musical in the middle of an episode. And the one thing that, if you guys have been following me for a while, one of the things that I've talked about is that there aren't very many shows that can pull something like this off. Half the time, anytime that I see a performance happen, not even necessarily a dance number, I feel like it's usually a musical number, or at least like a performance. It tends to be really cringeworthy for me. I feel like that's happened a lot when it comes to Super Sentai. I'm just not a fan of, let's just spend, a couple of minutes of one person singing or performing their song type of thing. But there's an element of musical production that I love that just gets to me. And maybe because I am a sucker for a really good musical. But I think because of the fact that Power Rangers really pulled this off, in my eyes at least, I loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I think in part of it has a lot to do with just not only the character of Steel, because honestly, I do feel, and I talked with AJ yesterday about this, and he brought up the idea that if it was anybody else other than Steel, this might not have worked for me. But because of the fact of what the story was based on, the idea that it is focusing on Steel, that we can get just a little bit goofier with this episode, and the amazing performance of Abraham Rodriguez, and just the storyline that they've built up for Steel all season long, this was just like everything coming together in a neat little box and a bow. And they said, here's an early Christmas present for you, Adam. Happy Merry Christmas, whatever the case may be. And I opened up the box, and it was something that I didn't know that I wanted, that I absolutely loved, man. And I'm just being for real here. I know we've given Becca and Alwyn, the writers, sometimes a hard time. I definitely have seen certain things in the comments for sure in regards to some of these past writers, but I thought they did an amazing job here, especially with the director for Oliver Driver, who directed this episode, also to be able to put together this musical performance. I thought it was great. And you know what else made it fun for me? I don't even know how many times I've watched this music video of his of this performance, but every time I watch it, it gives me goosebumps and chills because of the fact that I can see everybody having so much damn fun in this episode. Like, when you see them watching Abraham as he's performing as Steel, you just see all these big smiles and grins and laughter, especially during the time in which they were, actually singing and dancing and stuff. They looked like they had a blast with this episode that they filmed. I don't know how long it took for them to get the choreography and stuff down, but everybody was grinning from ear to ear. They were loving seeing each other just sort of in these throwback costumes from like the 50s and 60s, or whatever the case may be, the 40s or 50s, whatever the case may be. Like I was watching something straight out of Greece. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant and so well thought out. And for me, at least, this episode is not successful without the brilliant performance that is Abraham Rodriguez. This kid is a freaking star. I can see why, again, and I've said this before a couple times, I can see why he was nominated for a Kids' Choice Awards. And if you ask me, after watching this episode, I don't believe he won the Kids' Choice Awards. And if he didn't win, he got robbed. Okay? He got robbed, because I'm pretty sure I don't see any of those other kids doing what Abraham is certainly doing right now on Power Rangers. And listen, I know I don't want to harp on this guy, and I don't want to give him even more of a hard time than I certainly have in the past, because Blake Foster has come out and at least apologized to Abraham Rodriguez in regards to his very first initial reactions of him as the Gold Ranger, right? But when the pandemic started, Blake did come out and apologize to Abraham, saying things like, hey, man, I've had the opportunity to sit down and watch Beast Morphers with my kid who absolutely loves the show, and I'm really impressed, Abraham. Like, he literally impressed Blake Foster into apologizing for what he certainly said to him earlier in the year. But this episode is exactly why you do not judge a book by its cover. This was such a great performance from him. There's something great about seeing Abraham have to embody his other brother, if you will, in Steel. The voiceover I thought was brilliant. Seeing Abraham match up sort of that enthusiasm of the voiceover with his over exaggeration and overacting in his sort of performance, right? Like, there is a very pure and genuine and childlike sort of behavior that we've gotten from Steel sort of all season long, right? Like, even though he's a robot, there are a ton of firsts in his life that he's kind of experiencing or wants to experience. So when you think about the idea of what that joy could possibly bring to a robot turning into a human for the first time to experience life, it's almost like the idea, think about the idea of being born at the age of like 15, right? Like, born for the first time, you wake up in this body at the age of 15, getting the opportunity to finally experience things for the first time. That's the type of joy that I expect Abraham to showcase us as Steel in Nate's body. And damn, did he do a fantastic job with it. I truly did. And again, just seeing the other performers around him, like Jacqueline and Rory and Jasmine and them, you know, even Christina and Cosmo, like, just watching their reaction to how Abraham was acting as Steel with the grins and the smile, they loved it. They loved it. And I thought he did such an amazing job. I can see, listen, I can understand if there are some people that were like thrown off by this, you know, that maybe it certainly wasn't for them. And that's certainly more than fine. You know, some people will say maybe he overperformed or he overacted. I mean, if that's how you want to look at it, that's certainly more than fine. But there's a real joy and a real, I was going to say genuinity. I don't even know if that's a word, but there is something just genuine and pure and joyful about this performance by Abraham that I can see why this guy is on the new Saved by the Bell series. I can see why he's gotten additional work, because what he did in here, I can tell you, is probably not easy. I feel like it probably takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of talent, and it takes a lot of balls to act like that and just perform at the highest level that you possibly can. I mean, granted, I mean, he's probably not going to win any Emmys, you know, for this performance or anything like that. But considering of just how risky this was for Power Rangers, how outside of the box this was for Power Rangers, this blew me away. This blew me away. And not just the musical aspect of things, not just Abraham's performance, but the storyline was pretty solid also. The idea of them accidentally getting swapped, right? It's an ice cream type of day, but unfortunately for Steel, he doesn't get the opportunity to experience what ice cream tastes like. But to see that Nate has a surprise for him that, listen, I've been working behind the scenes to fully make you human. That's one of the biggest things I've been asking myself and throughout this entire season is, man, they really are giving Steel a lot of references about the idea of him wanting to be human, him wanting to experience what it's like to be a human. Are they going to literally pull that trigger, right? How do you do that? And I don't even know if by the end of this season, if they're going to get to the point where Steel actually does become a full-fledged human. But for one episode to get Steel to experience what it's like to be human, it's his ultimate wish. it's the one wish that we know as a viewer and storyline wise that Steel has certainly always wanted. So to see that wish fulfilled, to see the joy that is Steel, and again, this is one of the reasons why we've said countless times, you don't really need too many comedic aspects to this series, because you got Steel, because he does bring that comedic and like joy factor to the series. And I think the fact that they have established this idea of Nate and Steel being brothers, having this close relationship, yet there's something missing because Steel feels incomplete, that he's not human. The fact that he gets to experience that here in this episode, I thought was such great storytelling. And honestly, like seeing the gratitude and the appreciation from Steel to his brother. There's a scene towards the very end that choked me up a little bit when they are getting back into the DNA swap, the whatever, the Beast Morphex swap thing, body swap thing. When they get back into it, you know, Nate turns and or in the Steel body, and he looks at his brother and he says, "Are you ready, brother?" And he puts out his hand, and Steel just grabs it and just says, "Thank you, Nate." And like that, like just saying that line just literally gave me goosebumps. Like, because there is a genuine appreciation for what Nate certainly did. Yeah, I mean, granted, it probably was a mistake, but the fact that Nate even let him live in his body for a day, trusting his brother that much, and then Steel just understanding that, you know what, I may not ever become human again, but the fact that you, my brother, gave me this opportunity to experience this, grateful to the utmost. And there's something amazing about that and so touching. Like, I swear there's been so many great, just touching moments in this season, even from the Captain freaking Chaku with his daughter, and, you know, Nate trying to understand and let him go back home and help him out with his cybernetics. It's like, what? Like, there was just so many great nods to great storytelling and great emotional moments, and just really perfect moments in Beast Morphers that they've really just choked me up from time to time throughout this season. And who knows if it's even over, to be honest with you. But the level of an emotional ride that I've taken in the second half of Beast Morphers has been amazing. Amazing. So again, I will stick by, and I'll even die on this sword, that I do think that season 2, episode 16, the Silva Switch, is the best episode of Power Rangers in this era. Ever since Neo Saban era started with Samurai, all the way up to this moment, the fact alone that Oliver Driver, Becca and Alwyn, Chip Lynn and this crew had the balls to do something that Saban would never do in his entire life, and give me something fresh and brand new, is enough for me to say this is the best episode I have ever enjoyed from this era. It truly is. It truly is. And you guys certainly do not have to agree with me at all, but I think Abraham is a freaking star. He made this episode, the great storytelling from Steel all season long, to the great chemistry between him and Abraham. You know, because earlier on when we first got Steel in here, I was very much one of those people, like, it's just hard to me, but it's hard for me to believe the idea that these two are brothers. Like, right? Like the idea of them really building it up for that. That's easily what I said when we first started. But as this season has progressed, the love and the attention that these two have shown each other, the attention to detail when it comes to the storytelling for these two, has blown me away, has absolutely blown me away. Also, and listen, that's just talking about Abraham and Steel. I didn't even mention the great sort of civilian fight that we wind up having between Blaze and the new monster this week, where we get the opportunity to see Steel fighting in Nate's body, and Nate struggling to fight in Steel's body because he's not used to it. But there is also a great appreciation from Nate after all this is done, to appreciate what it's like to be human, to what it feels like for 24 hours to be stuck inside of a robot's body, right? The idea of having them both swap and then both truly appreciate what it is that they certainly have in their life, or what they've certainly gotten the opportunity to experience. And I think that's such a powerful, very powerful sort of story that they could have definitely tapped into, right? The idea of, appreciating the fact that we are human. You know what I mean? And so I think that I do think that every once in a while, us as a society, we need that sort of reminder to go out and experience the world, to not just sit at home all day and be stuck inside this cube. I mean, granted, it's hard for us considering our climate that we're in, right? But there are things that we can do in our lives to just remind ourselves how great it certainly is to be a human, and to see like Nate really appreciating that even more, considering the fact that he was stuck in a body all day. But also Blaze and Roxy, uh I find it super intriguing that now we have Blaze, who on the sneak tip winds up absorbing some Morph X so he can become a little bit more powerful, get a little bit of a slighter upgrade to where he actually defeats the Rangers here in this episode and leaves a lasting impression on Evox. And now I love that we've got Blaze and Roxy going head to head. I mean, granted, I still wish it was the Avatar versions from season 1, but I appreciate the fact that we have some beef between these two. Who's going to be the more powerful? Who's going to go ahead and impress Evox the most? I'm really glad that we have some dissension among the ranks here when it comes to our villains, and now have an additional sort of side storyline for us to focus on as we wrap up this season. And I also say this, a quick honorable mention goes out to Scrozzle for one of the best lines this week when Roxy like pushes him, is how did Blaze get so powerful? I don't know, vitamins maybe. Like I just thought the vitamins line was so hilarious and so perfectly timed. So shout out to Campbell Cooley for continuing to impress. And just, I don't even know if that line was like ad-libbed or if that was actually written in there. Who knows? But Campbell Cooley just pulled off that line perfectly. Vitamins maybe? Like I just thought it was great. What else am I missing in this episode that really impressed me? There's so much, guys. The getting an opportunity to see Blaze take out the Rangers. I thought we got some great, not only original footage, but great usage of Super Sentai footage as well. Yeah, man, I was impressed. I was absolutely impressed. Everybody looked like they had a good time. I would love to ask the crew of this and the cast just how much fun they honestly had. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much hard work was it to go ahead and put this performance together? How impressed were you with Abraham's performance? And how much fun did you have in filming this? Those would probably be the 3 biggest questions I would love to ask to the cast, to be perfectly honest with you, because I was highly impressed, Beast Morphers. This season continues to impress, man. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of the first half of the second season, very much lukewarm, but they've had a great momentum swing for this second half that has really carried me through some great stories. We'll see what next week's episode certainly holds, certainly brings us. But I'm sure some of you guys will make comments that maybe might remind me of some things about this episode that I wanted to highlight that I might be forgetting just off the top of my head. But I feel like I've tackled everything. Again, I'm a sucker for a great musical. And so to be able to see the joy and the talent that came out of putting this together, the risk that it wind up taking for Power Rangers, going outside of the box and giving us a musical episode, and not even a full musical episode, but just giving us a musical number. Kudos to the entire team. You guys blew me away this week. You truly did. One of my best episodes I've ever seen, especially best episode of the era, and I'll leave it at that. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, at the end of the day though, these are just my A+ opinions. I certainly want to go ahead and know yours, so please let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And let me go ahead and go through some of these comments before we go ahead and jump onto the next topic real quick, because when I'm doing this stuff on StreamYard and I'm streaming live, I do tend to sometimes wait to hit some of the topics later on, and by the time I get back to them at the end of the episode, like I've missed, it goes and like clears off like 30 minutes worth of comments. So let me go ahead and see if I can jump into what I can think of. What's up, Not Ultra? Good to see you in here. Hey, Adam, just so you know, it's great to be human. It really is. It really is. He said, I warned you about this episode a few weeks back. You did, man. And I personally loved it. Matthew says, I pretty much love their musical number. I wasn't sure what to expect from it, but I adored it. That's a great word too. I adored it also, Matthew. Like I literally have watched this video like probably at no more than 10 times, probably at least like 7 to 8. Easy. Easy. Not Ultra says, after last week, which I didn't care for, I really enjoyed this episode. Is it the best episode of the era? No, but it was good. Well, I'm still glad that you enjoyed it, Not Ultra, for sure. Devin, he says, I did like this episode for how weird and different it is. The music kind of threw it off a little bit. Yeah, it definitely is weird and different. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect. Like when they did swap bodies, like I remember everybody telling me to watch out for this episode. And so when I went into this episode, I honestly forgot what this episode was going to be about. I'm like, the Silva switch. I wonder what that's about. And then I see the two of them switch bodies. And I kid you not, I perked up in my seat and I was just like, what is this about to get into? Because it was different, because I don't feel like we've seen too much of this kind of stuff before. So I'm so glad that they took this risk, honestly. And I see a lot of people talking about the monster movie from Time Force. Yeah, if anything, that's probably the closest that I can think of. Everything else that I can just remember was like performances, like individual performances, and I enjoyed those. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes some of those were even cringeworthy for me, to be honest with you. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the musical number and just the audacity that Power Rangers had to try and pull this off. I got to give them props for that. I really do. Blossom says, I love how they think outside the box for Power Rangers. They showed it. They honestly showcased it here in this week's episode. Shadow Nova says, Adam, which do you prefer more, Steel or Jay from Go Busters? You know what? I'm going to say Steel. This is close for me because, listen, I think Jay is hilarious also. Jay's got some great comedic moments. The idea of, like, I love how he always gets in the front of Jin all the time. I love how he's always cracking open a can of Enotron like he's drinking a beer. Like, there are so many great moments of Jay. But I think the voice acting for Steel works. I think the storyline that they've had for Steel all season long truly works for him. In this episode, I think truly put him over the top for me. So great question, Shadow Nova. But if I had to guess, I would say Steel over Jay. But that's just my preference. He says Princess Shayla and Merrick did a musical. I don't call that a musical. I call that a performance. Like I call that like a musical, like a music number, right? Like just singing. I'm talking about like what's flash mob type stuff, right? Where everybody all of a sudden knows the words and knows the dances and all comes together. That's what I'm talking about. A big, huge musical performance in that sense, not like standing in front of a mic with like your makeshift band and performing, or one-on-one singing, Kimberly from Mighty Morphin doing her song. No. I'm talking about a musical production performance that's put together where random people just seemingly know the words to the song and all start dancing. There's a significant difference, and so that's what I'm referring to. So I don't count that as on the same level as this. Now Ultra says, unlike last week, this episode did have a solid premise. I enjoyed Steel this episode, and I know the musical isn't for everybody, but it worked for me because it fits Steel's personality. Yeah, I absolutely agree. When you've got somebody who's wanting to be a human for such a long time, I can see him wanting to scream at the top of the mountains about how grateful and how happy he is to be experiencing all this stuff for the first time. It's in his DNA, if you will, for Steel to just be that, over the top. And so it worked. It truly worked for me. So I'm glad that it did for you, Not Ultra. I'm glad you pointed that out. Isaiah, what's up, Isaiah? I appreciate you coming through. Thank you very much. Matthew says Beast Morphers has really been perfectly perfecting. I'm sorry. Beast Morphers has really been perfecting pulling on the heartstrings. You're absolutely right, Matthew. I feel like this season, I'm trying to remember if there was a couple moments in season 1 or not, but I really do feel like when it comes to season 2, at least, man, they are really pulling at the heartstrings. There are a couple of times in this season so far, I've definitely have gotten that choke in my throat, like, oh, hold back these tears, Adam. Hold back these tears. Don't let them see you cry. Isaiah, what was your favorite moment in Power Rangers Beast Morphers? Like overall so far? I'm gonna wait because I feel like there's probably some really great moments still certainly to come. There's so many great moments though. This is definitely up there though, easily in my top 3 right now. Easily in my top 3. Bacon and Sushi, what's up, man? Appreciate you coming through. Blossom says your review is awesome today. Hey, I appreciate that, Blossom. Thank you so much. I'm glad you brought this up, Matthew. He says, speaking of, can we appreciate how we saw not only human Roxy again, but also human Blaze? That's right. Listen, they come around when the party starts. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't seen them all season long, with the exception of Roxy yesterday. Who the F is Jack? Who the F is Stacy? But outside of that, yeah, I did love getting the opportunity to see them in here. Like, for a second after the song finished, I was like, oh, wait, that's Roxy. Oh, wait, that's Blaze. And so I had to go back and rewatch them just to see how big of a role they had in the musical number. But it was great to see them pop back up here. I even like the idea when Steele is performing as Nate, and he's talking about, you know, some of the things that you should experience, right? Like take karate, or maybe try a romance, as he says it, right? Like you've got Ravi and you got Ravi and Roxy, like she spins into him, they're about to kiss, and he comes out and he like spreads them apart, sort of thing. I thought it was great, man. The little touches of just great humor. I love this cast. I love this cast. I don't know if I can say that any louder or not, but I do. Edward Sanchez says, I can't stop singing. It's great to be human. Now I've got great teeth and hair. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, bro. Telling you. Oh, I love this episode. I do love this episode. Blossom. It really is great to be human. I've been told I wasn't human a long time ago. Folks, though, thought I'm strange and unusual, and I'm proud of it. Hey, be proud of who you are, Blossom. I'm glad you brought this up now, Ultra. You're right. Body swapping episodes in PR are pretty common. That I definitely agree with. So that's definitely not out of the norm for me. But the way that they interpret it was definitely different, right? I mean, I'm talking very much about the musical aspect of it for sure. So I'm glad that you brought that up, not Ultra. Shadow Nova says, Adam, have you heard of Power Rangers Supernova pitch from Jason Bischoff? He talks about how he'd love for Blaze and Roxy to return as Silver and Pink Ranger. Oh, and it's a Q Ranger pitch. I haven't heard it. I did see the video was up from Jason. I just never got the opportunity to check it out, but for the most part, I have heard at least some of the details in regards to it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. Now Ultra says, I prefer Steel too. While I do love Jay, I think Steel has a stronger arc for becoming human. I'm definitely on that same path as well. Again, no disrespect to Jay. I think he's great in Go Busters for sure. Definitely has his own uniqueness to him. But there is something just I love something about Steel. What's up, Charles? Appreciate you coming through. Is this a new Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode? New in a sense that this is the first time that it's airing in the US. Yes, it has already aired over in the UK and other places around the world. Unfortunately, us here in the US, we're like the last people to get it. But in the US, yes, this was a brand new episode for us. Bacon and Sushi says, I thought this episode of Beast Morphers was really good and ridiculous because of the musical. Glad it was because of Steel and less, or else wouldn't make sense at all. And I think you're right. I think if they tried to maybe do this musical for anybody else outside of Steel, it may not have worked. I might have actually found it pretty cringeworthy, but the fact that it was Steel, there was just something so genuine and pure and joyful about it that I couldn't turn away. I was grinning from ear to ear with goosebumps. I wanted to get up and dance with them, honestly. Like, I wanted to be a part of that flash mob of theirs, because I first of all, people don't know this, but I absolutely love to dance. Anytime music comes on, it's hard for me to just keep my body still. Like, I love to dance, so when I get the opportunity to see them doing something like this, I get so envious. Like, I wish I was there on screen dancing with some of them. And I love the choice too of them doing the kickback costumes. I mean, freaking Abraham Rodriguez is out here looking like a mix between John Travolta and Ryan Gosling from like La La Land. I mean, guy was looking flawless today, showcasing his talent, his skills, why this kid is going to go on to become an amazing star sometime. I mean, the fact that this guy is going to be on Saved by the Bell working opposite of Mario Lopez. I mean, come on. I mean, somebody clearly recognizes this kid's talent. But he brought it, man. He brought it. And the costume designs were great this week. Everybody looking like pink ladies from Greece. They even did Devin's hair and stuff, taking him back to the 40s and 50s. It was so well thought out. So well thought out. Now Ultra also says, I said this last week, but I'm very disappointed in this season for not fully utilizing Human Blaze and Roxy. You and me both, not Ultra. That's the one thing that we've talked about from the very beginning. I've been sitting on my hands. I haven't talked too much about it recently, but very much when we got introduced to the idea of Human Roxy and Blaze, along with Robo Blaze and Roxy, I literally was left scratching my head, telling me I don't know why they made this decision, because they haven't utilized them hardly at all. The idea that they literally have just made these two robots that can just be defeated easily and come in and out whenever they want to really just takes any stakes off the table for the importance of these characters and how, their roles when it comes to the Beast Morphers. So listen, I haven't gotten to the end of this season yet, right? So maybe something happens. I have no idea, but I do think that if there are any misses so far that I've seen when it comes to Beast Morphers, the lack of the use of the Beast spots, and the confusing direction of bringing Human Blaze and Roxy back, not utilizing them. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, though. Matthew, I wasn't sure how I feel about this episode at first, but the second time I immediately agree. Possibly the best episode in the era so far. We'll see if, hey, I got somebody on board with me. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that for coming on board with me, man. Listen, I felt lonely on this island, man. I felt lonely on this island, but I feel like this episode did so much. This is going to be, if you ask me, a super iconic episode for Power Rangers for years to come, honestly, because of just the production that they truly put behind this musical number, and just a great story and amazing performance. It was just literally like, everything just coming together in a neat little package, man. And so thank you, Matthew, for jumping on this sword with me, man, because yeah, I'm very much lonely on this island, I feel like. Bacon and Sushi says, are Blaze and Roxy like dating? They always absent, then always come back on screen together. That's the same question I was asking Roxy last weekend. Like, hey, you up here trying to get on Robbie for talking to some girl named Stacy, but where you been at, Roxy, this whole time? Last time I saw you, you have not been in this season at all. You are Blaze. What you two been up to? What have you two been up to behind the scenes? Doing your own musical number? Psh, probably. I gotta find out though. Devin says, when music comes on, I just have to move my body and dance. I can't stand having to keep still when I hear music that hits hard. I feel you, Devin. I feel you, man. Trust me. I know exactly what you mean. Sarav, what's up, Sarav? Human Blaze and Roxy are the biggest wasted opportunity in Beast Morphers season 2. So far, to me, they are. So far, to me, they are. Steel seems to be stealing everybody's heart by being a dancer. Abe has moves. Must be how he got cast by Saved by the Bell. No, I'm not even talking necessarily about Steel's moves. No, I'm talking about. Oh, I see what you're saying. Steel in Nate's body. Yeah, man. Yeah, he. Abraham brought it. Abraham brought it. What's up, Johnny Marrero? Certainly good to see you in here, man. Definitely appreciate you coming through. Thank you very much, Johnny. All right, guys. I think that's probably going to do it in regards to some of the comments for this week's episode. If anything, I'm definitely going to go ahead and jump back into some of the comments with you guys also. But I do want to go ahead and move on to our next couple of topics. I think I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 5 topics for us to get into. I didn't even really think that this was going to be that busy of a week's episode, considering that we're utilizing some of the stories from last week. But man, we definitely have a lot on our plate. So let's go ahead and get into this, guys. I'm sure we'll get back to this, how great it is to be human. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. One of the things that we have been talking about a lot, guys, the rebooting and reimagining of Power Rangers in the future. One of the things that we've got coming up next is actually going to be our Power Rangers Dino Fury season. That's set to go ahead and be 44 episodes, set to go ahead and air this upcoming year. One of the things, though, that we haven't really known or haven't had any clarity in regards to up until recently is how many seasons are we going to have, right? I mean, we're dealing with Nickelodeon's contract that's set to expire at the end of 2021. We don't really know what Hasbro and E1 is certainly going to do with the franchise as far as television series after that, as far as like its home, where the home is certainly going to be. But when we did get the news that we were going to get 44 episodes, there was a lot of people back and forth as to, does this mean one episode, like one season, or is this going to be breaking down somehow into 2 seasons? Well, this actually comes to us from No Pink Spandex, who let us know that the screenwriter, Marsha Daswani, interviewed E1 executives, Oliver Dumont. And one of the articles stated that E1 is working on the first season of Power Rangers Dino Fury. And so this has really thrown up a ton of questions. So what I wanted to do was literally let's just go back to the actual quote itself. Let me go ahead and bring up this article here. This is from worldscreen.com. Oliver Dumont and Monica Candiani talk Hasbro and E1 sort of integration. Now, they do talk about the idea that it says following the closing of the transaction in December, the integration of the 2 companies began, with E1 family brand set as Hasbro's new content arm, with Dumont at the helm as president and Monica leading the distribution team as executive VP of content sales. The division is responsible for development, production, and distribution of the merged company's kids and family slate. That includes Transformers, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, and the different iterations of these brands, in addition to our preschool brands, is what Dumont wind up telling them. So very much still doing the kid aspect of things when it comes to Power Rangers. But what about Beast Morphers? This is the very last paragraph of the article. At present, Dumont and his team are working on the new My Little Pony show, which is titled My Little Pony Pony Life, a new Transformers, the first season of Power Rangers Dino Fury, season 2 of Ricky Zoom, with season 3 in development, the rollout of season 8 of Peppa Pig, and season 5 of PJ Masks with development the beginning on season 6. So it definitely seems as though, guys, we're somehow getting ourselves 2 seasons of Dino Fury. This really does intrigue me, because I'm trying to wonder, like, 44 episodes. Are we, I guess for me, I'm still trying to figure out, like, does this mean that we're still going to be getting them one season a year, right? 22 episodes, and then coming back with like another 22 episodes for the following year? Or can we still get 44 episodes in one entire year, but still separate this in two seasons? I am kind of wondering if we could possibly do that, right? Like, could we begin something from March to July, right? Take a week hiatus, 2 weeks hiatus, come back, season 2 begins. Who certainly knows? Can we just drop them all as chunks? I have no idea. I really have no idea what's happening behind the scenes when it comes to Hasbro and E1. But this at least confirms to us that while we will be getting 44 episodes, we're definitely going to be getting them in 2 seasons. Now, how they plan on formatting those 2 seasons will be interesting. You know, I don't know what the difficulty level is of them starting 2 seasons, or at least starting a season on, say, Nickelodeon, and then moving, say, the second season somewhere else. I don't know if that's something, I'm pretty sure that's probably been done before. I don't necessarily think when it comes to Power Rangers that's been done before, like picking something up mid-season and moving it somewhere else. So I will be interested to see what the format is going to be, or if this means that we're in for another additional year of Nickelodeon. I still feel like Hasbro and E1 probably wants to separate itself from Nickelodeon, considering the fact that Nickelodeon really does not promote hardly any of their stuff. Like, I'm surprised that when I go on Twitter, every once in a while I might see Nickelodeon showcasing like a clip from the upcoming weekend's episode, but outside of that, I really don't see too much promotion from Nickelodeon. So it does make me scratch my head to think, like, why would they want to go ahead and go back outside of the fact of like, hey, we have a connection to having our stuff distributed to kids. I think you could still do that in any other way that you wanted to, especially now that they've got E1 as part of their own brand. I think they could do a better job of licensing this out to other people if they certainly wanted to. But it looks as though we're going to be getting ourselves 2 seasons. Now, whether that means, like I said, 44 episodes in one entire year, do they split that up still and still give us 2 seasons within that year? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. The only reason why I say that is just because I find it hard that if you're not going to renew your contract with Nickelodeon, the idea of giving us 1 season there and then taking it elsewhere, it just feels really disjointed to me, and I just don't know if you how that would carry over viewership wise. So again, we haven't heard anything from Hasbro in regards to their plans of sticking with Nickelodeon, or if they're going to extend their contract. Maybe that's something that we'll find out at the beginning of next season or next year in 2021, maybe before Dino Fury actually winds up dropping. But listen, I'm okay with the idea of 2 seasons. I think if anything, my like I said, my biggest curiosity will be, how will we have that 2 seasons delivered? Like, we're definitely never going back to the Super. I can almost guarantee you that. I really doubt that that's a direction that they'll certainly go. So we'll see what happens, guys. But I would like to know what you guys think. Like, if you had your choice, if you have an idea that they are coming out and saying, listen, we have 2 seasons of Beast Morphers, would you prefer still those 2 seasons to take place in 1 year entirety? Or would you like to see the 2 seasons split per year? I would be interested to see what you guys think. And for me, I guess for me, what really fascinates me is, one, I'm glad that we're getting 44 episodes. I truly am. The more Power Rangers, the better. Maybe that's not always the case, right? Because there are some episodes I could probably do without. But I am fascinated as to see how this is going to break down. But I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts. So, hey, Beast Morphers, Dino Fury getting 2 episodes. What are your guys' thoughts? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of Dino Fury, I've been having a really great time in following this Dino Fury cast along with their journey here for making the upcoming Power Rangers season. If you have not had the opportunity to check out Russell Curry, Kai Moya, Tessa, what's her last name? Drawing a blank now. Hunter Deno's out there. Chance Perez is out there. Do yourselves a favor, guys. follow them on IG, social media, just to kind of see their adventures in New Zealand and some of the things that they're kind of experiencing for the first time and stuff. It's really cool to see just them growing into this Power Ranger crew of ours. And one of the things that really jumped out at me this past week was really showcasing just the involvement that Chance Perez certainly has. And so Chance Perez actually came out this week, or I think it might have been last week, and he had an interview with ET Canada, my brother from another mother over here, and Chance Perez. It says Chance Perez is honored to join Power Rangers franchise, talks writing possible music for the new series. That honestly gets me pumped, to be perfectly honest with you. So let's go ahead and jump into this article here from ET Canada, where we get to talk a little bit about Chance Perez here. It says Chance Perez can now add actor to his resume. The 22-year-old, who is best known for his affiliation with the boy band in real life, is headed to the small screen to play the Black Ranger in Nickelodeon's upcoming series, Power Rangers Dino Fury. This opportunity came around. This is what he says. He says, this opportunity came around and I wasn't sure if I was going to audition, but then I thought to myself, why not? Just give it a shot. And then I was in New Zealand not too long after. So it all happened really quickly. It feels so surreal to me because I really haven't done much acting in my life. And to say that I'm a Power Ranger on their TV series is a dream come true. He says, I've been watching Power Rangers, or the franchise, since I was a little kid. Power Rangers helped me instill a lot of morals into me, such as wanting to do better, try harder, and be a good person. And I know that the franchise has done that for thousands of kids across the globe. So to be a part of that franchise, it's a real honor. He talks a little bit about the costume, putting the helmet on and things like that. But they also talk a little bit about... where'd he go? He says, we got to work with these Japanese stunt team, and they're incredible. They're relentless in their training, and they go above and beyond. There's a specific type of fighting style that the Black Ranger is learning right now to incorporate into these fight scenes, and I'm really excited about it. They're very inspiring. I love that idea, honestly. Like, I love when each individual Ranger has sort of their own unique fighting style. And so if the fact that it's going to get highlighted here for him, I think it's great. You know, when I did watch Real Soldier, I felt very much like Bomba, maybe not so much physically, like punches and kicks, but I felt like he was a real swordsman. The guy definitely knew how to utilize his sword a lot. So I'm kind of curious if maybe this fighting style that he's talking about is maybe some sort of sword techniques that Chance is certainly learning. I'll be interested to see. He says, and in real life, fans who are missing the sound of Perez's sweet voice can tune in closely to the series to hear a familiar voice. What? It says, real life fans who are missing the sound of Perez's sweet voice can tune in closely to the series to hear a familiar voice. I've been talking to them about possibly helping compose the music by writing a little bit of it or offering some of my own songs that fit the storyline. So we'll see how that goes, but it is in the talks. I think that's a great opportunity for Chance Perez, if I can be honest with you. Why do I have Chris Pratt's face on my... I think this is a great opportunity for Chance Perez. Now, I don't think this says that he is going to absolutely be doing the theme this year, but he says that he has been talking with them about possibly helping compose the music by writing a little bit of it or offering some of his own songs that fits the storyline. So he's not even sure if he's going to be doing that, but I think the opportunity, at least if it's there, would be a great one. I don't know if we've ever had an actual Power Ranger put together or compose music for a series before, but that's just how talented Chance Perez is. While he may not necessarily be the strongest actor, I don't think you necessarily need to be the strongest actor when it comes to Power Rangers, as we certainly have seen over the years. So I'm certainly not worried about that. But if he definitely wants to utilize his talent elsewhere, and his talent certainly is in music, why not? Like, I really would love sort of a fresh take on a Power Ranger theme if we certainly were to get something like that. So bring it on. I hope that this is something that they pull the trigger on. I mean, it is one of those things where it's like, if you've got somebody this talented on board that's working on your crew and part of your cast, why wouldn't you want to go ahead and utilize them to some capacity, right? I mean, this guy does this kind of stuff professionally. So I would love to kind of see Chance's or hear Chance Perez's voice somehow, either in the theme or if we don't get to hear his voice, then maybe just some of the musical aspects that he winds up composing and putting together. Maybe we'll hear at some point throughout this season. So who knows what happens, guys? But I almost feel like, because we've got Chance Perez, this season we'll probably will get a musical number from him. We just talked about the idea of doing an actual musical production with the dancing and the singing. This feels like I wouldn't be surprised if we see Chance Perez on a set, performing with a band, singing one of his songs or whatever the case may be. I wouldn't be surprised if that pops up in Dino Fury at some particular point in time. Heck, maybe him and his sister or play instruments together or something like that. Maybe he sings and she plays the guitar or the drums or whatever. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Chance Perez showcases his talent in some capacity on Dino Fury going forward. And I'm here for it. Why not utilize the talent that you certainly have around you? But guys, listen, I want to know your thoughts. Listen, I love hearing just the enthusiasm that he has. I believe his girlfriend and his kid are there with him also, so they're getting the opportunity to experience all these things. I think the article even said, where did he say? Oh, he says, Perez, it says Perez hopes to pass those lessons down to his daughter, Brooklyn, who is so excited to be in New Zealand watching her dad on set. This is what he says. She was so excited to see the Rangers in their costumes with their helmets on. She was so nervous to even wave to them because she was awestruck. She was a fan of Power Rangers before I even auditioned, so this experience means a lot to her. I just hope that she sees me working hard and she wants to do that in her life as well and keep pushing forward. Life is never easy, and this surely isn't easy, but I'm working hard, and I hope that she takes from that and incorporates it into her childhood. Better words have never been spoken, man. I think Chance Perez just showcased why he's a freaking awesome father, because he definitely gets it and understands and wants to be a fantastic beacon of inspiration to his daughter. And I think he's doing just that, man. So props to Chance Perez for not only being an awesome dad, but being a rather talented one also. So Chance Perez, I definitely hope that we get the opportunity to see your skills performed well in Dino Fury. My brother from another mother, ladies and gentlemen. But I definitely want to know your thoughts in regards to that. Are you excited about possibly Chance Perez having some sort of say or getting his hands on some composition for music when it comes to Power Rangers? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see. We got 3 more topics left. Let's go ahead and just continue along with this Power Ranger streak that we're on right now as we continue to dive deeper. This is where we certainly get the reboot and reimagining Power Ranger stuff to certainly talk about this week, because I feel like week in and week out, more information continues to drop for us in regards to giving us new information about what is really going on behind the scenes from Hasbro and E1, especially along with Jonathan Entwistle, Brian Edward Hill, and everybody that's being brought on board to go ahead and bring us so many different iterations of Power Rangers. It certainly feels like going forward. From everything that I've been seeing so far, right now, this reboot and reimagining is consisting of a non-kids television series, an animated series, a movie in the works also, and now, as Brian Goldner referred last week or the previous week, that John Entwistle is now also working on the kid aspect of Power Rangers as well. So we've got 4 different things that Power Rangers is trying to stretch itself out into. And if you ask me, I do think that it's a great decision. I think this is Hasbro recognizing the idea that we've got generations of Power Ranger fans of all ages that we certainly now have to appeal to, right? Hasbro has talked heavily about tapping into that untapped potential of Power Rangers that's just been sitting on this shelf for 20 something seasons and hasn't grown outside of what it currently is. And so I thought this article that was brought up from Den of Geek this week was great in regards to just talking exactly about all the things that Power Rangers is really thinking about kind of exploring. So I thought it would be cool to kind of highlight some of these things, talk about this just a little bit further, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and dive into this particular article here. This is from, again, denofgeek.com. The Power Rangers reboot franchise or reboot universe is exactly what the franchise needs. So this is a breakdown of everything that we know of. So the first thing that they talk about in here, let's see, the new live action Power Rangers movie. With Hasbro's acquisition of Power Rangers and the 2017 Lionsgate Power Rangers movie's lack of success, it was inevitable the new movie wouldn't be a follow-up to that film. We know for sure that the film will be live action. Titans writer Brian Edward Hill has been tapped to write the script. It will be more mature than the TV series, and Entwistle will be directing. I do love the fact that Den of Geek does bring this up, because we have talked about this. We talked about this on our previous episode when we talked about Brian Edward Hill being brought in. It says, we aren't sure if the story of the new film will follow the plot originally mentioned in reports back in December. And this is exactly what we talked about literally 2 weeks ago. Literally 2 weeks ago, we brought this up. The idea that we have to take into consideration that scripts are continuously changing. And the fact that now we know that Hasbro has taken their Power Ranger movie from Paramount and moved it over to Entertainment One, and attaching a brand new writer to it, the script may change. I'm not exactly sure how much of that original script was Jonathan Entwistle's full idea, and what percentage of that script was the previous writer's idea in Patrick Burleigh, I believe his name was. He was the writer for Peter Rabbit 2. So the fact that we now have ourselves a brand new writer on board can truly mean that some of the rumors that we heard, or speculation that we heard from the Illuminati a few months back, may have significantly changed. So things are very much in limbo right now when it comes to Power Rangers, and we'll see exactly how much of that script did make it over from this transformation, if you will, this morphing, if you will, at some particular point in time. But it says the movie was in the works with Hasbro and Paramount, but Paramount hasn't been mentioned in any of the recent press releases, so it's unclear if that story is still in play or not. So we do have to definitely take that into consideration going forward, right? Are we still doing a time traveling movie? Are we still going back to the past, right? Or where's our focus going to be on? Are we still going to be doing original characters, right? Is Lord Zed still going to be the main villain that's been speculated? Again, all this stuff right now is up for debate because of the fact that we now have ourselves a brand new writer. So we'll see what happens. This also says the non-kid TV show. We know very little about this show, but Entwistle will direct at least some of the episodes. What's fascinating is how much the press release made a clear distinction between this project and the currently airing Beast Morphers project, because it did say in addition to the non-kid projects under Entwistle, Power Rangers inspired kid series Beast Morphers is currently in its second season, which made me scratch my head a little bit, because literally later on, a couple of weeks later, they also added Entwistle to the idea of him working on the kids TV side of things going forward. So definitely left me scratching my head. He says, if a Power Rangers TV series isn't for kids, who will it be for? So yeah, I'm definitely feeling the vibes, especially if you kind of look at what, Jonathan Entwistle has done in regards to some of his work, the end of the effing world. I'm not okay with this. They definitely do take teenagers and definitely put them more in a much more mature and grounded sort of universe, if you will. So I definitely am not expecting this non-kid TV show to be for kids. If anything, I would assume probably teens, young adults, maybe even a little bit more mature. But we'll see. I don't know if we'll get a ton of like F-bombs. Like, I really don't know where they're going to go with it, to be honest with you. But when I think of this, I definitely do think like DC television type stuff, in regards to maybe hour-long episodes, 45-minute long episodes, right? Really telling a overarching story, if you will, through several episodes. And we've talked about this too 2 weeks ago. The idea that I would not be surprised if they do wind up changing the format of how we've come to know Power Rangers, especially in regards to the non-kid side of things. Like, I don't think we would get like a villain of the week. I think we're probably would get a lot more focus on characters, the family, school drama, whatever the case may be. Maybe a couple of monsters trickled in here or there, maybe, but I really don't think they'll stick with that format of like villain of the week or monster of the week format. But we'll see what happens. I do love the fact that it says we could see a Riverdale style show. He said, let's call it Angel Grove. That focuses more on characters, romantic relationships with one another, something that the series up to now has shied away from. It would even allow the show to make more intense action, the legendary stunt team able to go all out of pulling their punches for fear of their actions being copied by children. Power Rangers could be anything it wanted, and I think that's a really telling line in this article, and I think one that sometimes escapes people because we've gotten so trapped in knowing how Power Rangers has been done for such a long time, that the idea of realizing that Power Rangers could be anything it wanted to be, I don't think we fully grasp what that truly means until we're actually going to get the opportunity to see something special, or something different. Because I do think that Power Rangers could be anything that it wants to be, and I think this is what Hasbro certainly thinks for sure. Will the movie or TV show use Japanese footage? One of the hallmarks of Power Rangers is its use of footage from the Super Sentai. It's both been a blessing and a curse to the show, saving it tons of money, but also locking the show into themes and stories depending on the footage. And this, again, guys, this isn't no surprise. This is something that we've talked about over the weeks, ever since that news wind up coming out. The hindrance of what it certainly can do for creatively, at least. While so far no one has commented on whether the non-kid show or film will use Sentai footage, we're fairly confident they won't. It's tough to reimagine the franchise while still being forced to use whatever Sentai is given to them. As much as fans love seeing how Power Rangers utilizes the footage, it does keep Hasbro from making exactly what they want. If they're going to invest the money into a show and film, they want to have full control over it. And guys, I've been preaching this to the choir since July. This is exactly what I've been preaching this to the choir for July. The idea here that if you truly want to be able to branch out Power Rangers, you got to leave Toei behind. And I know that hurts for some people. I mean, it hurts for me to a certain extent because of the fact that I've gotten so used to it. I love trying to figure out what the next Super Sentai adaptation is certainly going to be. But I have always felt that it definitely hinders people in being able to do exactly what they want. And you don't spend $512 million to purchase a company only to have to share that company and be hindered as to what you can do with it because you own it with somebody else. So like the article says, if you're going to invest the money into a show and film, you want full control over it. What did I say before? Content is king. Original content wins over. You want ownership. So I still stand by that to this day. So I think when it comes to Super Sentai footage, I just don't think that we're going to get it. I just don't think that we're going to get it. Power Rangers new animation. It says, as reported by No Pink Spandex, at the Festival of Licensing, which we talked about several weeks back, that they are exploring content for the franchise, which includes new animation. And Entwistle is also going to be helming that also. In its 27 years, there's never been an official Power Ranger animated series. Some pitches have been leaked, and various people associated with the brand have spoken about the possibility in the past, but nothing official came to light. The possibility for an animation Power Ranger series is endless. With animation, you can do anything you want, and you certainly wouldn't and couldn't use Japanese live action footage with it. That's the infinite canvas. Whether they want to tell stories that flesh out the world and characters, a totally separate story, or a series that skews towards adults, akin to something like Castlevania on Netflix. It could even use it to dive into the continuity of the kids show, although some comments from Entwistle makes me suspect that it wouldn't be the case. So yeah, I still to this day, I guess for me, I still don't get the pushback for not wanting Power Rangers animation. I just don't know if people just don't feel like Power Rangers belongs in animation, which I don't see why you wouldn't, considering just what Power Rangers is, a kids show that has monsters, robots, colorful suits. That screams animation to me each and every day. Considering how big this continuity is, considering how many crossovers and team ups that we've gotten, considering just how many iterations of Power Ranger teams that there are. I mean, goodness, man. I mean, animation is a way to tap into all of those characters and those storylines, right? Like, there's no way, like, if you're a fan of Mystic Force, who's to say we don't get a Mystic Force animation episode? You think anytime soon we would ever get a Mystic Force live action series again? No, not gonna happen. But could they revisit Mystic Force if they wanted to in animation? Yes. You know why? Because you can do anything you've ever wanted to do in animation. Heck, bring back Mystic Force live, actors. Let them do voiceover work or whatever the case may be. The animation is a brilliant way to where if you can't utilize everything in live action that you want to, but you still want to bring back some of fan favorites, if you still want to bring back people of Rangers that you're familiar with and go back to storylines that you can tap into and could further tell, animation is brilliant. And I don't know if people just have this image of animation like we're still watching animation from the 1980s that's like 2D and stuff. Like, have you guys watched animation lately? Have you picked up Netflix and watched just some of the amazing content animation wise that Netflix certainly has? I'm sure you can find it elsewhere. The level of production that goes into animation these days, I highly doubt that Hasbro would slouch on something like this. Whether this is something kid related, I honestly don't even think this is kid related. I'm very much feeling like this is probably going to be in lines with the non-kid stuff that they've been developing for Power Rangers so far. I mean, who knows? It could certainly go either way. But I think Power Rangers is just a really great opportunity to tap into a sense of medium that Power Rangers has never broken into. And I just think with such a rich history and a rich lore, animation will do nothing but benefit Power Rangers certainly going forward. I'm glad that they brought up things like Castlevania, Voltron. I mean, my goodness, I mean, there's so many great, and I mean, watch the Godzilla CGI animated movies. I mean, it's all over the place as to just some of the amazing artwork and storytelling that you can truly tap into, and you don't have any limitations. Let's open up our minds. Let's get some of this imagination rolling, and I think animation is a great way to do that. The one thing I will say here, they do go ahead. It says, all this doesn't mean we're seeing the end of Power Rangers Kids TV, though. Let's dive into this real quick. It says, the kids show, with all this talk of the new universe and projects, fans have been wondering what will happen to Power Rangers TV show as we know it. Currently, the 28th season Power Rangers Dino Fury is in production, and its first season will air on Nickelodeon next year. Past that, things are still to get hazy. They do reference here that, however, Power Rangers is only guaranteed to be on Nickelodeon through 2021. After that, who knows where the show will end up? It could potentially move to another network, but this means we'll have Power Rangers through 2022. That doesn't mean the show will remain untouched by Entwistle or Hasbro's new plans for the brand. This is what Brian Goldner said. It says that Entwistle is handling the kids-oriented TV show that is in its 27th season. This raises a ton of questions. What is Entwistle's level of involvement with Dino Fury And will it tie into the new Reboot universe? Will he continue to handle the show going forward after Dino Fury? Will it keep using Japanese footage? It says there's also a strange distinction made in the initial press release about these projects where Beast Morphers was referred to as a kid-inspired show. What does that mean? What makes the kids' TV series Power Rangers inspired? Is this some kind of new legal or corporate distinction to keep the kids show separate from this new projects? It's hard to say any of these questions. We can only speculate that perhaps the kids show will continue on in the original continuity along with Sentai footage, while Entwistle will simply make sure it somewhat matches the tone and aesthetics of the other projects. Another possibility is that the kids show will take place in a new Reboot universe and will completely drop the Sentai footage. And so I'm going to say this, guys, if this line right here, we can only speculate that perhaps the kids show will continue on in an original continuity along with the Sentai footage, while Entwistle will simply make sure it somewhat matches the tone or aesthetic of the other projects, right? That's just speculation. Another possibility is that the kids show will take place in the new Reboot universe and it will be completely drop off the Sentai footage. And if I have to be honest with you guys, I believe that last sentence. I've had the opportunity to kind of think about this a little bit more. And if this is true, that Entwistle is in fact picking up this kid television series, it would not surprise me if they continued along with Power Rangers after Dino Fury on the kid level type, but truly just made it all original footage. It would not surprise me if it does take place in this new reboot universe. If you're telling me that Entwistle, who was just on board, who was just brought on board to reboot and reimagine the Power Ranger franchise, we initially were told he's doing the non-kid stuff, he's doing the movie, and he's doing animation in this non-reboot side of things, or in this reboot reimagining side of things. And now you're adding kids TV show to that list for him also. I do feel that that falls under the category of reboot universe reimagining. So I still think that you can continue along with this kids TV show and still give us original footage without Super Sentai. If there's anything that we have seen, Beast Morphers has continued to separate itself from Sentai footage. They still continue to give us, great original footage collaborated with Sentai footage, but I continue to see more and more original footage more than ever. And I would not be surprised if we see that distinction continue in Dino Fury. So yes, I'm feeling very much like you could still do a TV series with no Sentai footage. The Illuminati article months back in July stated this very thing. The idea that this doesn't necessarily mean that this is the end of Power Rangers, right? It doesn't mean that Dino Fury is the last iteration of this kid show. It just simply means that perhaps maybe moving forward, Sentai footage just will not be used, was what they were claiming. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen anything else to tell me otherwise. I haven't seen anything else to tell me that that's still not the case. Because if you are now adding this to Entwistle's rest of things that he's rebooting and reimagining, there is a level of me that feels very much like the kid show will continue, but in a more original footage side of things. And if anything, this also does bring to mind for me really the idea of, one of the questions that we tried to tackle a couple of weeks back was what's going to happen with the production team from Power Rangers that we have now, right? What happens to Alwyn and Becky? What happens to Simon Bennett? Do they keep him on board? My initial thoughts when they told me Entwistle was only coming out to do non-kid TV series, animation, and the movie, I thought, bye-bye, that's it. That's it. Maybe Simon Bennett sticks on, but everybody else probably goes on to other things. Who knows? But this this now kind of makes me feel like we probably can keep these people on board if we wanted to. If we have somebody like Jonathan Entwistle that's going to sort of oversee everything, but still allow us to direct and write the episodes as long as we're, in line with the overarching vision that Entwistle has for this series, I don't see why you certainly couldn't do that. And I'd be completely open to it. So I think that's probably where I'm at right now in regards to that. But yeah, it just says the future of Power Rangers. To quote a final line of Power Ranger Time Force, the future looks pretty bright. Of course, some of these projects may not get off the ground because that is Hollywood. That's absolutely true. Just because they say things are in development doesn't mean that it's actually ever going to come to fruition. But seeing how committed Hasbro is to Power Rangers with multiple shows in the works gives us a lot of hope. They'll be different from what fans are used to, no doubt, but that's what Power Rangers needs right now. And I agree. I definitely agree. It says becoming a teen or adult show film doesn't use Sentai footage may be off-putting to hardcore fans, but it's the kind of move that'll draw a whole new audience. It could reinvent what people think of Power Rangers, and they'll help it grow after years of relative stagnation in pop culture. There's a lot of great work for the fans done over the years. But to really make a splash in the wider entertainment world, Power Rangers needs to do something bold, and these new projects could be just that. So great article, man, for Den of Geek, guys. I definitely highly recommend that you certainly check it out for yourself. Just a really great breakdown of really an aggregation of all the information that we have so far from the Power Ranger news that we've been having for the past couple of months now. So definitely a great article worth reading. But guys, listen, let me go ahead and stop this. But yeah, I get the worry from fans. I do. I'm glad that Den of Geek at least highlighted that towards the very end. But I would hope at least as Power Ranger fans that there is a level of responsibility I feel like we have to this franchise to allow it to grow bigger than ourselves. I know maybe sometimes we don't, I don't know if we feel comfortable sharing it with the general public. I don't know if there are people out there that have that mindset of, well, they're not going to appreciate it as much as we do, so just keep it the same. I don't know if there's that type of mindset out there, but as a fan of this franchise, I personally really want to see this franchise grow and become bigger than what it was. It was great in the 90s, and it's still enjoyable through all these years. But to completely deny the idea that it's become stagnant, I think is I just don't think that's open-minded enough. I think that's just really closed-minded attitude. I think that Power Rangers is at its peak and it's just never, it's where it's at. It doesn't need to change or anything like that. I want to see this franchise continue. I truly do, and I think in order to do that, you got to take bold risks. You got to put Power Rangers out there and allow it to continue to be mainstream. I mean, I do think that there are some elements that Hasbro, like if they do keep around the TV show, I think that's good work on their part. But I also have, and I've been saying this for a while, I think the idea of keeping Super Sentai footage around really does shackle and put handcuffs on the creative people behind the scenes, because maybe they don't want to tell that story that they're forced to tell now because of footage, right? And people say, oh, we'll just work around it. But that's the point. They shouldn't have to work around it. They shouldn't have to. As a creative mind, you should be able to have that freedom to create the story that you want to tell and guide this franchise in whatever direction that you certainly want to, and don't have to worry about, can we do that in this episode? Oh no, we can't, because this in the Super Sentai footage, this happens there, and this person is there, and this person is with them. You know what I'm saying? Like there's really a lot of that goes behind the scenes, I'm sure, and having to adapt something instead of just writing something original. and it's very crafty. It takes its own special skill to certainly adapt something, to say the least. But I got to think it's easier to do original content than adaptation. And so I think this is a big move. I think this is a bold move from Hasbro. But if Hasbro wants to get their money back from Power Rangers, you just can't be stagnant. You can't be comfortable in what Power Rangers is today, because unfortunately, it's just not working in regards to bringing in the numbers. If anything, I feel like viewership continues to drop. More and more eyes continue to get away from the actual franchise itself. And I do think that it needs a really good kick in the ass, if you will, to kind of open up people's minds. So listen, non-kid, animated, movie, and kid related, I feel like they got all genres covered. So even if you're not in the mood or feel like Power Rangers shouldn't be for adults, hey, don't worry. We got something for you coming. Don't worry. You know, if you're a fan of wanting to see Power Rangers animation, hey, you know what? We got something for you. You don't want to see animation? Hey, that's cool. Guess what? We got a movie, we got your kids show still, and we've got a non-kid show if you wanted something maybe a little bit more mature. If you think animation is for kids, you know, like they're at least trying to give us stuff that's going to appeal to different types of the fan base. And I think that's just a success for building a franchise and building a successful one. So hopefully the storytelling will be there, because at the end of the day, nothing's going to catch anybody's eye if you don't have great characters, if you don't have great story, and if you still don't hold true to what the core, at least, of Power Rangers truly is to some extent. So we'll see what happens. But I do think Hasbro is certainly onto something. And the fact that, again, that they have over these past several months, if not past year or so, have committed to making Power Rangers a big part of their blueprint going forward, I got to give them props for sticking by that, for sure. I definitely do. But guys, listen, at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts in regards to, so please let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And then real quick, we have two more topics. We're just going to get into some Tokusatsu information for you guys. We're going to visit Kiramager a little bit and Zenkaiger, because we're still highly awaiting the debut of anything Zenkaiger related. I'm waiting around for like some freaking photos, some plot details, a synopsis, characters, themes, whatever the case may be. We're all certainly still scratching our heads trying to figure out exactly what it is that we're going to be getting. Well, the rumor mill continues when it comes to Zenkaiger. Nobody truly knows what this certainly is going to be, but we have more Zenkaiger rumors, ladies and gentlemen, as to what we could potentially be getting. But again, as always, as the great real Matt Hunt himself says over on Twitter, take this as a grain of salt. Okay. But possible Zenkaiger rumors, your grain of salt is requested. Possible or outright ridiculous. And this is what he wound up bringing up. Let's see if I can read any of this damn stuff. Grain of salt needed on this heavily, friends, on a recent thread discussion of discussing what the Zenkaiger motif could possibly be. The following list of Japanese spiritual beings were dropped. Blue, also known as Kappa, one of the most famous yokai around. If you don't know what they are, basically a ninja turtle with a bowl on its head filled with water, sometimes translated as water imp or river child. It says pink, Amabi, I believe it says, a legendary three-legged or three-tailed mermaid whose lineage is said to ward off disasters or illness. It gained recent popularity because of COVID, and it was all over social media. Interesting. Yellow, the cubi, a nine-tailed fox, possibly even more famous than the Kappa. It's a legendary trickster, shapeshifter in Japanese folklore. I'm very much familiar with that, honestly. They even highlighted the cubi and cubi in the HBO Max series just recently. Lovecraft Country. Let's see. Black Karasuntingu. I kind of butchered that. The more known red face, pointy nose Tengu. This one is basically an anthropomorphic crow. Interesting. Okay, a black crow. And then you got red, who's a Shisa, the odd man out of the list. The Shisa is a guardian deity of Okinawa. It's a mix of lion and dog. It says, so why do I post this? There's a good chance it's fake. I see Yukai as a very real possibility for Zenkaiger. I also think this specific lineup is just so very interesting. If it's just someone's made up list, you would think you would go with 5 Yukai, not 4, and a guardian deity. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Last time I heard the term Yukai, ladies and gentlemen, was Ninja. And I was not the biggest fan of that series, like at all. I did not like that series at all. But I thought the costume designs, I thought the creature designs were handled great. And a lot of those designs that you saw from Ninja were inspired by Yukai, like strange supernatural entities, things like that. Very much even says spiritual beings from Japanese folklore and things like that. Considering just some of the other rumors that we've heard, I really like the sound of this. This would be the color scheme: blue, pink, yellow, black, and red. That's just a real soldier colors, weren't they? Oh no, there's no green up there. Oh, that's what it was. It was the yellow mixed with it. That's what it was. But I like that. I kind of like the idea of Yukai. Like, I'm wondering if those would be like the Zord designs, or if those would be like the powers that maybe our team is based off of. I think that would be pretty cool. Like, I can imagine, like, even with some of the other rumors that we wind up talking about, how the suit design might be significantly different than what we've seen from previous Super Sentai shows, right? The idea that maybe this season is going to be harkening back to like the Metal Heroes motif of some of the different looking Super Sentai suits than we've ever had. Like, if you combine that with that notion of maybe like brand new, different Super Sentai looking suits than anything that we've seen before, combine that with the possibility of those suits maybe representing, or those Zords representing Yukai from Japanese folklore, I think that's a pretty cool combination, if you ask me. How that actually transforms into the theme itself from the title, I have no idea, right? Because we had like world, like machine world or something like that, full throttle. I don't really know how that would even like combine with any of these grain of salt rumors. But again, I think we're just literally basing, we literally have no information about Zenkaiger, official information at this particular point in time outside of just its name. So we'll see what it winds up leading to. But again, a grain of salt, because things can change. These could just be fake rumors, but I do like the idea that, like, even the idea that the person who posted this wrote that he finds it interesting that it's so specific in its lineup. Instead of just 5 Yukai, to go with 4 Yukai and a guardian deity. There's something fishy about that, but maybe in a good way. So we'll see. We'll see if it holds up. We'll see if this grain of salt certainly holds up. But usually when it comes from the real Matt Hunt, I feel like I think it's one of the reasons why I highlight some of his stuff, especially when it comes to rumors for upcoming Super Sentai, because I feel like some of the stuff that I have seen him post has like nailed it on the head before, especially when we broke down stuff for Kiramager. I think the real Matt Hunt was one of the people that that highlighted maybe the idea of like a jewel theme and stuff, and maybe the color combinations in the vehicles. So that's one of the reasons why I like to try and highlight some of the stuff that the real Matt Hunt posts from Ranger Board and things like that, and some of the information that he winds up gathering. So we'll see what happens, guys. But I continue to be excited for Zenkaiger. I don't know when we're going to get more information. I mean, damn, we're already about to be in the middle of November here, and the brand new series starts like March or so. So hopefully by the end of the year, we start getting at least some extra details. If not a photo reveal or scans, then at least maybe some plot designs or plot synopsises in details. But we'll definitely continue to keep you guys posted as more information certainly goes ahead and gets revealed to us. But some of the things that you have heard about Zenkaiger so far, what do you guys think? Has anything really piqued your interest that you certainly would like to see possibly hold up to be true? Certainly go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. What else we got? And last topic for today. This will probably go by pretty briefly, honestly. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some Kiramager because we are inching ever so closely to its finale. We've already made it into episode 30, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how many episodes we have left. Maybe about 15 or so, if we're lucky. So we'll see exactly the direction in which this season definitely takes. But I wanted to highlight this article because one of the shows out there that I have yet to tackle that I really want to just sit down and binge and watch is Ultraman Z. And I thought this story was really fascinating because this actually comes to us from Tokusatsu Network, another great site where I get my news from. JEfusion.com, Toku Nation, and Tokusatsu Network if you're looking for really great places for your Super Sentai and Kamen Rider and Tokusatsu news. So definitely go ahead and check out those sources. But it says here, Kiyotaka Taguchi is directing an upcoming episode of Kiramager, which I find pretty interesting to say the least. Let's go ahead and just highlight this article real quick. It says, Kayotaka Takaguchi, the head director of Ultraman, is directing 2 upcoming episodes of Kiramager. It says, following this week's Kiramager, the official Twitter account for the show announced 2 upcoming episode directors. Hiroyuki Kato, who directed episodes 30 and 31, while popular director Kayotaka Taguchi will be directing episodes 32 and 33. So literally within the next two weeks or so. In his Super Sentai directorial debut, notably, Taguchi has been the head director of the current Ultra series show in Ultraman Z. This is what Taguchi had to actually say. He says, "I'm finally doing Kiramager. I'm directing episode 32 and 33, which will be broadcast on the 22nd and the 29th of this month. This is my first time directing Sentai. I'm going to be diving into this with enthusiasm." So I'm excited for this. I'm hoping that if anything, this will bring my attention even more to Ultraman Z. I am really fascinated to see exactly how they pull this off, what his directing style certainly is going to be like, how vastly different it's going to feel from other Kiramager episodes that we've seen. And I'm really fascinated to see what his style is. If I like these episodes, 32 and 33, it'll probably, like I said, it'll probably even give me more fascination to go ahead and check out Ultraman. I don't even know how many episodes of this season they have for Ultraman, but again, it is something that's been on my plate for the longest time that I've been really wanting to go ahead and get into. I've just had so much stuff on my plate, guys, that I have not been able to watch. I find myself just falling down a bigger and bigger rabbit hole of things to add to my watch list. But make no mistake, Ultraman Z is certainly on there. And listen, I like the idea of bringing somebody else in to do the director work, honestly. So we'll see what Taguchi certainly is going to bring to the table for Kiramager, but I'm definitely excited. If you guys have checked out Ultraman Z, how have you guys enjoyed this season? Do you think it's been on point? Do you think he's going to heighten the episode value for Kiramager for those 2 episodes? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And other than that, guys, that will wrap it up for us today in regards to A+, more phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. Those are, in fact, all of our topics. So thank you very much, each and every one of you, for certainly joining me as we break down this week's news and reviews for Power Rangers and Tokusatsu. But you know what, guys? With that out of the way, it's time for live viewer questions. Let's see if you guys have submitted over any questions during this time. So let me go ahead and pop up this Gmail here. I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of these questions from back in the day because I do have to do a little bit of catch up here. Jessica Friedman. This is from November 1st, Jessica. Sorry. Hey, Adam. Hey, Adam, is the new Power Ranger movie going to be released in theaters or on a streaming service like Netflix? And would you like to see the next new Power Ranger series? And would you like to see, I'm assuming, what would you like to see the next new Power Ranger series after Dino Fury put on Netflix? So is the new movie going to be released in theaters or streaming service? I think that's a great question, Jessica, because I think in the climate that we live in today, with the pandemic, movie going not really being the best experience these days for some people, even though I hear people that have gone to the movies have felt very safe for the most part, that really there haven't been many cases, if any cases, that have come from people going to the movie theaters, because they have been on top of it for the most part when it comes to that. But still, people definitely are worried about going to the movie theaters. I mean, some theaters are talking about maybe shutting down, maybe not being able to come back. Who certainly knows? I really don't know what the landscape of this country is going to be by the time this movie comes out. A part of me does find it fascinating that they moved the movie from Paramount over to Entertainment One. With the name like Paramount, I felt like for a big tentpole movie, at least, you would want to be connected to them. But I'm pretty sure that Entertainment One has definitely released the movies on its own. You know what I mean? Even if they've had to maybe connect and work together with like another distribution company or another production company. I feel like Entertainment One has put out films before, so they know what they're doing in that sense. But the more and more I think about this, Jessica, the more and more I'm really leaning to the idea of this being a streaming service movie. And here's why. Power Rangers 2017 film came out 3 years ago. You tried to reboot Power Rangers then. Granted, it was done by Lionsgate and Saban Films. For the most part, people that went and saw the film thought it was good, thought it was pretty successful, right? Unfortunately, financially, nobody saw it, right? It didn't make enough money. People didn't rush out to the movie theaters to see it. So my fear is the idea that Hasbro puts money towards this, puts it out into theaters, and again, it's another financial flop. How do you change that? How do you maybe eliminate some of that risk? Maybe it is to release it on streaming service. I mean, we've seen some good movies went straight to original streaming. We've seen Netflix movies, Amazon movies get nominated for Oscars, right? Or nominated for other things, other awards. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But if you were to ask me today, Jessica, and I have the right to change my mind because things change, right? We get new information each and every day. The landscape changes. If you had to ask me today, Jessica, I think this movie is coming out on streaming service, not in theaters. I think it's an attempt to eliminate as much risk as possible and to not crap their pants at the box office. So if I had to put my money on anything, I would say a streaming service. This comes to us. Next question comes to us from AJ. With Beast Morphers nearly coming to a close, what do you want to pay off in this season? I still want the Human Blazing Roxy thing to pay off, man. I really do. I don't think it's ever going to pay off for this season, but I really would like to see it pay off. But I don't think it's going to. All the other payoffs have been there. I mean, the idea of Steel becoming human. I don't know if I would ever. I don't know if I want Steel to become fully human. I mean, I appreciate the idea that Nate even says at the end, like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna work as hard as I can to make sure that I can make you human again." Maybe that's an end game that I would like to see pay off, but this for me, for Steel's episode this week, this was the payoff because I got more than I wished for, to be honest with you. What can you expect from Dino Fury, especially now that we have all 5 Rangers together? Furious action, man. No, I think Dino Fury is gonna be stellar. I really do. I think it's gonna be, I don't want to say leaps and bounds above Beast Morphers, but I think if season 2 is any indication of how unleashed these writers are and these directors are and being able to do new things and create stuff out of the box, I think this is even going to push the limit to what we've already been teased to here in Beast Morphers. So I'm expecting a ton from Dino Fury, honestly. Original footage, a ton of original footage. I'm sure they'll still utilize Super Sentai footage, clearly, but definitely a lot more original footage. I would love to see more cameos, honestly. I would love to see more connections to the past, maybe part of the overarching story in general. I really want this to be an ode, like I don't want to say a farewell, maybe like an anniversary or just like a memorial episode to pay tribute to some of the past Dino series in the past also. So we'll see what happens. How do you feel when you got to meet how did you feel when you got to meet and interview Austin St. John at Power Morphicon in 2014? Were you starstruck, and would you like to interview the Dino Fury cast in the future, virtually or in person, or even the rest of the cast for Beast Morphers, since you already interviewed Liana? Yes, I'm thinking after this show, Beast Morphers wraps up, I am definitely going to try and make my way through the cast of Beast Morphers. I think the first person I definitely want to try and interview is going to be Jazz Meat. I definitely want to talk about Robbie, talk with him, simply because of the fact that there are characters in this season that have really just stood out to me. Roxy, I mean, damn, this whole team, honestly, like I really want to pick the brains of everybody, but the three that immediately jump out to me is Liana, Abraham, and Ravi, and geez, even Jacqueline is up there. I mean. Is it weird? Like, I don't get me wrong. I love all the characters. I truly do. But I do feel as though this season, while they have given Devin some great moments, you know, especially moments with his father, I think season one felt very much like a Devin season along with a Ravi season. I feel like maybe the Red is probably the most underutilized one out of this group, though, to be honest with. Well, maybe with the exception of like Zoe. I think Zoe is probably maybe even under Devin in that sense. Like the Jacqueline stuff, I think my love for Jacqueline and the how impressed I am isn't necessarily always in her performances per se, but I think it's just her real life sort of personality and how contagious it is, like how much fun she has and how goofy she can be. There is something about her personality that's super contagious, but yeah, I think like Liana Ramirez, I think she's going to go on to be a star. Abraham, I think, is going to go on to be a star. And I really want to interview Jazz Meat because, you know, I wasn't expecting much from like I wasn't expecting much from any of these actors, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, looking at their resumes and stuff, I really wasn't. But to see the growth of Jazz Meat and to see where they've taken his Ravi character from me has been pretty incredible. So I've really enjoyed his growth. So I think that's one of the reasons why I definitely would like to interview him. But yeah, I do plan on trying to get some interviews here with the Dino Fury cast and Beast Morphers here once Beast Morphers actually finishes or comes to a close. As far as how I felt when I met Austin St. John, was I starstruck? Yeah, I was a little bit starstruck. There was definitely nerves, you know. Back in 2014, like interviewing people for me was still semi new, maybe not totally new, but it's still nerve wracking when you've grown up to, I don't want to say idolize, but you grew up like admiring these people, you know, and, you know, Austin hasn't been around for a while. So for me, it was a really big deal that even though Austin hasn't been around for a while, that he was okay with interviewing with me, you know, that he gave me that opportunity to actually just speak with him. And especially when he's coming back, you know how much that means to like a YouTube channel to be able to get like one of the first and one of the few interviews with Austin St. John when he's back, like that very same year he came back. I thought it did tremendous for my channel, and just his generosity to be nice enough to even grant me an interview when he certainly didn't have to, you know. I mean, super popular. Everybody was there to see him, lines out the ass, and, you know, still have the, you know, was still open enough to take 5 to 6 minutes out of his life to just talk to me, you know. And the one thing that I did when I talked to him was I didn't want to bombard him with a bunch of Power Ranger questions. like, if anything, I wanted to do something a little bit different with my interview, and I wanted to ask him about his past. I wanted to ask him what it was like serving across seas and in a different country, what it was like to be an EMT and to find himself in certain situations, right? Like, I wanted to have a serious conversation at first with Austin just to see where his mindset was at after being away for such a long time. So I really wanted to kind of pick his brain before we got into the notion of like, look, man, you're a king here. You know, how good is it must be to be back, that people have been wanting you specifically to come back for such a long time. It was great. It was great. That whole convention was great because that's the same convention I went to, and I also interviewed Karen Ashley, I think for like the second time or maybe the first time. I just remember meeting Karen previous, and then I met her again at this convention, and she actually recognized me. I introduced I said, "Oh, hey, Karen." She's like, "Adam, it's you." I was like, "Hey, what's like?" I'm surprised that she remembered me. I doubt that she would remember me now, but who certainly knows? But I miss conventions, guys. I miss conventions, and I miss getting an opportunity to interview some of these Power Rangers. But for me, it is nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking just because you've looked up to them for such a long time, and now to be able to pick their brain, you know, yeah, I sit here and I think to myself, like, is my Power Ranger knowledge up to par? Like, do I know even the questions I want to ask them? You know, like, so it is nerve-wracking. It is a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was a great opportunity. So thank you very much for asking that question, AJ. Let's see here. What else we got? Jessica says, "Hey Adam, do you think Austin St. John would come back to Power Rangers again for Dino Fury? And would you like to see in the new Power Ranger movie?" Yes, I do think that Austin St. John would come back for Power Rangers again for Dino Fury. I'm crossing my fingers that he certainly does. Maybe, you know, I want to say as a mentorship role. I don't. Maybe that's me being. That might be me being too bold, but I would love to see him back, honestly. And what I like to see in the new Power Ranger movie, I really would like again, I've said this before, I want a brand new cast of characters. I don't want us to revisit Jason, Zach, Kimberly, Billy, Trini. Like, I don't want to go down that path again. Give me a brand new team of Rangers. I would love to see this group of Rangers from this movie launch itself all off into its own television series spinoff. We've been seeing it done for countless times now. The idea of Batman spinning off a Gotham PD on HBO Max, James Gunn's Suicide Squad spinning off a Peacemaker series on HBO Max. The idea of spinning spinoffs or spinning these TV series out of movies is becoming a very common thing these days, or something that people are looking towards. So if you're telling me I'm getting a non-TV movie, I'm hoping that that movie comes out of this new Power Ranger movie. So I'm really hoping that the new film really sets up a brand new lore. And if anything, again, I would like to see this movie also not ignore everything that came before it. I really would like to see it embrace it, acknowledge it, and then maybe something happen in the film where it is very much like, now we have to create our new path, understanding where we came from and appreciating our history, but moving forward in a different direction. And if the movie can do that and give me my 27, 28 years of a franchise into this movie, but making me feel like they've managed to reboot and reimagine it going forward, I would love to see something like that. You know, I hope this reimagining or rebooting isn't going to completely forget. Like, I don't think, like, when I initially think of this, I don't think retconning, right? Like, I'm not under the impression that it's just a complete axing of this, moving this to the side and never thinking about it or bringing it up again. I'm hoping that if anything, when we do get into this new universe, that history is entrenched somehow in this series, whether just be its history. Maybe every once in a while there's a call back to something that happened back in one of the older series or whatever the case may be. Not the main focus, because you want to clearly create something new, but I think for fans that are coming back, from older Power Ranger fans, I do think that there is importance to keeping those connective tissues intact, even if it is minuscule to a certain degree. And maybe that's why they want to keep around the kids' TV show, so they can kind of keep that connection if they want to. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens there. But thank you for the question, Jessica. Austin's got another question here. What's up, AJ? With Beast Morphers nearly coming to a close, what do you want? Oh, I think I already said that. Oh, I think you just gave me your questions again. Sorry. Oh, what's up, Gabe? What's up, Gabriel? Appreciate it, man. Yes, I did read your you did write a letter last time. 2 weeks or the last week, I believe it was. And because we didn't have a show, I didn't get the opportunity to get to it. You said, "What's up, Adam? This is Gabriel. Before I get to my question, I wanted to mention I am both from Dallas and live in Dallas as well." That's awesome, man. That's so awesome. It's hard to find people that live out in the Dallas area. I feel like there's a couple of people here though, that have definitely are either from Texas or have been in the surrounding area. So I'm glad that you're pretty nearby, Gabriel. Maybe one day at a convention or something like that, maybe we can kind of get together and meet up or something. You said, had to bring that up real quick because I heard you mention before that you live here. Yeah, I actually live in Louisville is where I'm out of. I tell everybody Dallas just because that's the most recognizable city nearby, which is maybe about like 35 minutes from me. So yeah. But to question so many, my questions pertaining to Power Rangers. A few weeks ago, you talked about how Brian Goldner made a statement about how kids series could continue the way that it is as far as using Sentai footage, even though I personally feel like it was misquoted. You do go on into your new email though and said that you did change your original question because you do realize that Brian Goldner's quote wasn't misquoted. I tried my best not to misquote people when they say it. But he says, even though I personally feel that it was misquoted, do you think they will just turn the kids series from live action to animation? I personally feel that Hasbro split from Toei is true. I personally don't see any reason to keep doing shows that using Super Sentai footage as far as kid show is concerned. It should be just the non-kid projects from Mr. Entwistle and then the animated series replacing the kid Sentai type show. What do you think about this? Also, second question is the Power Ranger movie have been moved to Paramount E1. Do you think they'll put the movie on streaming or do you think they'll renegotiate with Paramount for a theatrical release? I do think I did sort of answer that last half. But yes, I do think that they're going to be putting it back on to streaming. I mean, I wouldn't mind it if they renegotiated with Paramount, to be honest with you. So I do like that idea, but I'm feeling very much like a streaming service. I'm hoping I'm wrong because I am a big moviegoer. The movie going experience is unlike anything. Like I can stay at home and put up a 70-inch 4K television with subwoofers and speakers all around, and it will never give me a movie theater experience. And so I want to go back to the movies. I want to see these movies that were made for the big screen shown on the big screen. So would I like to see them renegotiate with Paramount? Combined with Entertainment One? Sure, I definitely would love to see that. Maybe they'll do that. But as of right now, I'm definitely leaning towards more streaming. And I think the idea of streaming would just, for me at least, would be like if you are going to make another non-kid TV show, and that's going to be on streaming, I think just the ease of knowing, hey, our Power Ranger movie just dropped on this streaming service, and now on this same streaming service, we're bringing you a series. For me, that makes a ton of sense. So we'll see. As far as you said, the idea, it should be just the non-kid projects for Mr. Entwistle and then the animated series replacing the kid Sentai show. That is something that we've kind of talked about, right? Like before they mentioned the idea, because the idea of this kid TV series is a new idea that just literally got thrown to us 2 weeks ago, right? Before 2 weeks ago, guys, we were very much under the impression that we were just getting animated, a non-kid TV show, and a movie. So my idea, the mindset that I was certainly in was very much where you're at, Gabriel, that maybe the animated side of things can be made for more kid-friendly stuff. If you wanted to bring back Becca and Alwyn as writers, maybe transition them over to something like the animated series. But I'm okay with both. I mean, considering the fact of how they've talked about it now that they've mentioned the idea that they're also adding kid-friendly TV series as well, I want to say I'm okay with it, but I understand where you're coming from in a sense of thinking it doesn't make sense, right? Like I get where you're coming from, because it is something that I certainly was even struggling with before I went live today, because I read your question and I went back and even watched my video from 2 weeks ago. And while I didn't misquote him, because I did say, maybe there's a chance that the series will stick around as we know it, that it'll continue. I said, maybe there's a chance, but I feel you can still do that without Super Sentai footage. So I guess for me, it really would be to see how big of a plan does Jonathan Entwistle really have. Like, if he has this big ultimate, like, huge scope of a plan for all these iterations of Power Rangers, then I think it could be really fascinating to have a non-kid animated and a kid show somehow all tied together with all original footage. Because I'm very much in the sense of where you're at, Gabriel, in the sense of I don't think any of these projects that Hasbro was working on is Super Sentai related at all. I don't think there's any footage that they're talking about. I think if we are going to get any of this stuff, it's going to be all original footage. Because like you, I am very much leaning towards the idea that the Hasbro and Toei split are in fact true. Hasbro's been throwing out a ton of plans, a ton of ideas, and nowhere in any of that have they talked about their partnership with Toei or using Super Sentai footage. So I feel very much like that's what they're trying to separate themselves from. And we'll see what happens, though. We'll see what the animated series turns into. I definitely understand where you're coming from. But for me, I don't mind if animated is delved into more adult side of things. Who knows? Maybe they could do both for the animated side, right? Maybe they could still do kid-friendly stuff and adult-friendly stuff when it comes to animation, because you can do anything with animation, right? So whereas it's a little bit harder, I think, when it comes to live action. So, but yeah. Do you think they will turn the kids series from live action into animation? I don't. I have very much have a feeling that that they'll keep these 4 segments. We'll see. Hope maybe Brian Goldner will come out and he'll clarify his words a little bit more. Because again, one of the things that I was trying to pick apart in there was, is Brian Goldner saying Jonathan Entwistle is going to create his own thing, and then there's still going to be the kid show on its own side of things, or is Jonathan Entwistle really going to come along and start working on everything together? And if he's working on everything together, and this is Jonathan Entwistle's baby now, then no, I'm not expecting any Super Sentai footage. And I feel like maybe Simon Bennett comes back. Maybe the writers come back. Who knows? Maybe they bring in other people. I don't know. But I do think that if anything, you could still do a kid television series without Super Sentai footage. And I do think you can do animation without it having to be the transference of that kid series into animation. I'm open to either or, Gabriel. I truly am. I try and be open-minded, but I think we're very much on the same page in regards to we don't see any Sentai footage being used anytime soon, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, guys, right? Nobody has confirmed anything yet, so everything is still very much up in limbo at this point in time. But other than that, guys, I think that's actually going to... Oh, you know what? Johnny Marrero's got some questions. See, Johnny, I remember this time, man. I remembered. I'm sorry if this episode is going a little bit longer. I mean, considering the fact that we didn't get the opportunity to do an episode last weekend, I figured, you know what? Let's go ahead and have a little bit of a longer episode. So let's see here. Johnny Marrero, get him a body bag. Yeah. Let's see here. He says, how do you feel about Dino Fury having 2 seasons? Do you think both seasons will air in 2021? I'm keeping my fingers crossed, Johnny, that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm really hoping that we get all these episodes airing in 1 year. If they want to still split that up in 2 seasons within that 1 year, bring it on. But I want to binge 44 episodes Let's see here. You also say, what new PR content are you looking forward to see from Jonathan Entwistle? You know, I want to see how he handles. I want to see how he handles Zord battles. You know, everything that I've seen so far from Jonathan Entwistle has really been focusing on the teenager side of things. I feel really confident in Jonathan Entwistle that when it comes to at least the character side of things, I feel like he definitely has his pulse on that age range. And so I think he can tell compelling stories for teenagers. So the teenager and the character growth and the storyline aspects, that I'm not so much worried about. The fact that I haven't really seen Jonathan Entwistle sort of dabble, and again, the only series that I've watched of his so far is I'm Not Okay With This. I did watch maybe the first 2 episodes of End of the Effing World. Wasn't able to get into it too much, so I don't know what adventure, if anything, they certainly got on at the end of that series. But I am curious to see how he does action. I'm curious to see how he's going to balance what he knows best and how to write these teenagers, combined with fun, action, martial arts, adventure, CGI, special effects, big robots, big monsters. I really want to see how that turns out. I think another reason why I'm leaning towards the idea of maybe not a weekly monster of the week type theme. I think maybe budget is in there. You know, I don't know how much they're going to be putting towards the budget of this show. Maybe they really want to put a lot of effort. Like if we are going to do monsters in CG, let's at least make these battles worth it, right? So we do minimal battles, but more character growth and focus on storyline so that when those battles do happen, they're more meaningful, they're more impactful. You know, I think a perfect example of that is Voltron on Netflix, where you go back and you watch the original 80s. It almost felt like every episode there was a Robeast or a Voltron battle, right? But when you watch the Netflix series, it's very much spaced out and paced extremely well. So you get to focus on character development, storylines, plots, right? The movement of all these characters. But also, when the time needs, you're able to put on some amazing battles that are meaningful and are worth something, you know? So that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to, is to see how Jonathan Entwistle tackles that combination of having to juggle both of those things. Outside of that, I just really want to see who the cast is going to be. I've been thinking really hard here, guys. I think if not this week, then in the next week or two, I'm probably going to drop a video about my potential cast or my fantasy casting for this upcoming Power Ranger movie, now that we're getting a little bit more details and grasp on things like that. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. You also say, if Jonathan is also in charge of the main kids-oriented PR season, what season do you think he should adapt after Dino Fury? This is going to be unpopular, but I don't think he should adapt any. If he wants to, if they want to, kudos to them, man. If they want to, I'm not going to complain about it. I think that'd be awesome. But I just don't think that they will do that. I think if they do something after Dino Fury, I think it'll be an original team, original suits, and I think Hasbro will invest the money in doing Zord battles and things like that. So we'll see what happens. But no, I don't think he's going to adapt anything else. And I think that might be it for the questions. All right. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for all the questions. So I'll just go ahead and jump into some of the live viewer questions here, or at least some of your comments, if you will. We'll jump over into the comments, shall we? See what you guys are saying. Let me go ahead and scroll down a little bit. I think I've seen majority of these already. Oopsie. There goes that big jump. There goes that big jump in comments again. If I missed anybody, I apologize. First thing, Egom, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't think they're going to bring Noam Kanil to do the opening so we're not going to have to go have Go or MMPR remix in Dino Fury. You might be right. I hope it's super original for sure for Dino Fury. Like, give me a guitar riff and I'll be happy. Gurjap, what's up, Gurjap? Appreciate you coming through. Thank you very much. The A Games 10. What's up, my guy? He says, Adam, do you think or have a feeling that Perez could maybe sing the Power Ranger theme song? Do you think or have a feeling? Could he? Most definitely. Could he? Most definitely. I think that would be really neat. I don't know if has that been done before. I don't think we've seen that done before. If he doesn't get the opportunity to, that's fine. I do hope that he helps at least them compose other tracks or whatever the case may be that might play during the rest of the season. But I think it would be really cool. Considering the fact that you do have a singer of that quality in Chance Perez, do it. Do it. Come on, Hasbro, pull that trigger, man. I know you want to. Blossom says that Chance Perez fella sounds pretty cool, more phenomenal even. Yeah, some of us Perez's are pretty cool. We can be pretty cool from time to time. I just want to take a picture with Chance, so it could be Dos Perez. So we could be tag team Dos Perez. Chance, are you a wrestling fan? If you are a wrestling fan, tag me in and let's just become a tag team. Dos Perez. Let's do it. Or Perez squared. I'm cool with either one, man. Bacon and Sushi says, I wonder who will be the couple in Dino Fury. I think Hunter and Chance, or Tessa and Ollie. We get that big brother storyline where Javier is overprotective. I can see that. The overprotective brother, I could totally see that. That would be neat. I wouldn't mind. I like that. The idea of The idea of Tessa and Ollie. I kind of dig that with Javier as the overprotective brother. I kind of like that, Bacon and Sushi, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that one. E1 at Hasbro will probably hire a new songwriter or put Chance into the opening. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, that's what I would hope for. If I had my choices, either let Chance Perez do this or bring us a brand new songwriter. I feel like Hasbro, give me one hell of a furious opening theme, man. Destroy me with this opening theme, please, for Dino Fury. Get me hyped to watch each and every episode when it kicks in. Bacon Sushi says, I now want a musical episode for Dino Fury, especially the Rangers are from different time periods. That would be pretty funny if they are from different time periods. Oh, he says the entire cast are posting a lot of pictures and videos from today's musical. I'm gonna have to check those out, man, because I cannot wait to see what they did. Fire Drake says, I would start off with a reboot series with a non-themed PR team like 5 men, then a certain theme for the second team, then a reboot named Dino Force to be continued. Interesting, Fire Drake. Some interesting concepts there, man. I do like the idea of maybe starting off with a non-PR team. That kind of sounds pretty good. I got this damn song. Stuck in my head. Power Rangers in your area says, I'm okay with not using the suits we haven't seen yet, but I want people to understand that that's part of the ball and chain they're worried about. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Ooh, Shadow Nova says, I would love to see Power Rangers in the Into the Spider-Verse style of animation. Yo, that animation style blew me away. I don't know how expensive it was to do that. It very, very much had that 3D effect to it that I was a huge fan of. It was so smooth, man. It looks so good. The A Games 10, I think many more people believe PR belongs in live action. I mean, that's great and all. People can believe that all they want to, but why handcuff it? You know, why handcuff it? There are things, I'm sorry, in live action for Power Rangers that you just can't do, or it's just going to be vastly too expensive to do. I just think people in general need to get their head out of this case that they're in, this trap, because they're trapping themselves and they're trapping Power Ranger in this box where, yeah, I believe it belongs in live action. Of course, it belongs in live action. That's where it was built upon, right? But the idea of introducing animation doesn't take away from the idea that we have Power Rangers in live action also, right? It's not either or, it's both. We can have both. People, if you don't think Power Rangers belongs in animation and you just want to stick to live action, I'm sure that's more than fine for some people. But I would just say, don't sleep on animation. If it's as good as I'm hoping that it's going to be, don't sleep on animation, because if anything has shown me, Boom Studios, comic book wise, has opened up this Power Ranger world even more than I ever imagined it certainly could be for me as a viewer. Now, granted, some of that stuff probably isn't canon, right? But it shows the possibilities. And the fact that we're getting an animation that can potentially showcase those same things and branch Power Rangers into a space that's never been before, the possibilities are endless. So, yeah, some people can believe PR belongs in live action all it wants to, but I just think the idea of not accepting, or at least being open to the idea that it too can belong in animation, I think is fans trapping Power Rangers in the box. And that's the same problem that we've had for the past 20 something years. That's why we're at where we're at these days, because we're too afraid to think bigger than that. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But hopefully people do come around and give the animated a chance. We'll see what happens with the animation. If it's a good series, we'll definitely talk about it for sure. And I think he says, but if you, this is from Power Rangers in your area, but you have to understand they're not going to use the old suits if you want original footage, because that's Toei's license, not ours. I mean, hey, I'm cool with that. Bring me new suits. Design something brand new. That's what I'm expecting. If you're telling me you're going to give me original footage, that's exactly what I'm expecting. What's up, Anita? Appreciate you coming through. Thank you. What's up, Jared? Appreciate you coming through. Animated Mystic Force can definitely work because they could pay respects to Peter Rutter and other Rangers that have passed. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but that is a good point. They definitely could do that if they wanted to. We'll see what happens with animation though, right? Like if they are able to are they able to utilize the costumes in animation form for the past? Do they have to? If they are going to be creating animation going forward, is this really going to be original costumes and design? Either or, I'm perfectly okay with. The idea, the idea I'm trying to point out is really the limitless possibilities of which you can tackle when it comes to animation at the end of the day. And if you trap Power Rangers in just live action, granted, yeah, okay, it's live action. It's okay to have both. It's okay to have both. Let me just pet some of these people on their back and just rub their back. Guys, it's okay, man. Animation not going to hurt nobody. Shh, it's okay. It's okay. Bacon and Sushi says, what happens if in a few years Hasbro's like, screw it? They gave up on Power Rangers and they either canceled everything or back to Saban. Damn, just don't. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this is successful. Let's see here. Dino Knights, fight for your rights. Man, I tell you, I really hope that's the call. I was really hoping that was the theme, Dino Knights. I had the phrase and everything. Dino Knights, fight for your rights. I just want somebody to say dynamite at some point in time in this season. They got to. Fire Drake says a Yukai themed Super Sentai team. It's kind of crazy, huh? It feels super out of the box. Like if this truly is Hasbro and Toei, like just fully separating, talk about like a bold move for Hasbro to like for Toei to go ahead and just create something super unique like that. I think that's what fascinates me more than anything, really. So we'll see if that holds true, Fire Drake. Matthew, no, I'm not saying that we could get another Ninja. No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, maybe storyline, like maybe crappy storyline wise, anything's possible depending on who's writing the series. But no, I don't think that's that's not what I'm referring to. Let me see if I can hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry, I just wanted to add a little bit more light in here because all of a sudden, like the clouds came through. It was sunny earlier today. I was like, why is my screen getting so much darker? Hopefully the mermaid will be gorgeous like Kagura. Yeah, I mean, just the idea of the grain of salt rumors that we got for Zenkaiger, the idea of some of those as either Zords or like themes for suits and colors or whatever the case may be, I think they'll sound pretty neat if you ask me. Jared says, I'm interested in the colors of Zenkaiger and the Zords will be like. Yeah, I think the rumor had blue, black, pink, yellow, and red, I believe. We'll see how that holds up, though. Blossom says Zenkaiger having creatures as his theme sounds kind of cool. Kind of reminds me of Star Twinkle Precure, sort of. Precure is like Power Rangers and Super Sentai for girls. Oh, interesting. I never heard of that before, but thank you for enlightening me, Blossom. Yusai, what's up, man? Good to see you coming through. I hope you're having a good day too, man. Let's see here. Sarav, this season is almost done, and considering how much of an impact this episode has had on many of the viewers, we can expect it to go on a high note. Yeah, I'm super pumped, man. I was not expecting this series, but this season or this episode, but hot damn, I'm so glad that we got it. I truly am. I truly am. Again, I stick by my words. You don't have to agree with me, but for me, best episode of this era. The balls that it took for them to do this, the musical performance, Abraham's performance, getting an opportunity to steal storyline. It was just stellar, man. It's so stellar. One of my favorite episodes. I don't think I've watched a Power Ranger episode more times than I have with this one. M, what's up, M? Do you actually think that Liana did all of her stunts, or did she have a stunt actor for the Roxy suit? No, I don't think she did all of her stunts. There are certainly moments you can clearly see her fighting and doing some of the stunts, but I don't think she did all of her stunts. I'm pretty sure that there are suit actors either in the Roxy suit sometimes or whatever the case may be. But no, I don't think that she did all of her stunts. I wouldn't be surprised if she did a lot of them, though. Or at least a pretty good handful, because I know that they definitely have been practicing for sure. And I think she was even practicing like in stunt work as well. So That's why you have stuntmen for, right? You just don't want your main actors to get hurt. Zachary Patton, what's up, Zachary? Power Rangers has generally always been focused on a single location in the world, yet the villains are trying to conquer the entire planet. Would be nice to see a global story for once. That's a good point, right? It's like, why do you just keep focusing on this one damn town? Why you can't go? You can't go to Nebraska, take out those planes, right? Like the those animals, you know, you can't go to like Seattle or something like that and destroy some of their cities? What about Miami? You can't go to Miami. You got to keep coming back to this one location. I thought you were trying to overtake the planet. No, you're just trying to take over the city. Okay. Good point, Zachary. Good point. What are my anticipations for a Zenkaiger? I haven't even thought that far, honestly, because I really don't even know what the theme is. Maybe once we get the theme and we get more stuff figured out, then maybe we can. But right now, I don't even know what I'm just anticipating a good series. Bring me a good series and something creative and different, right? Like a part of me, I think if anything I am anticipating is that if any of these rumors have held true, the one thing I am anticipating is how vastly different are the costumes going to look from past Super Sentai teams that we have seen. If they look significantly different, then that might be my flag of, hey guys, I don't think this is ever going to be adapted to Power Rangers anytime soon, right? Like I feel like that would be Toei planting their flag saying, yeah, we're just doing things our own way now. So if there is anything I'm anticipating, it's the costumes. It's the costumes. But yeah, other than that, guys, I think that is going to certainly do it for us today. And remember, guys, before we even close this episode down, anytime throughout the week, if you see a news article, if you read comic book, if you watch an episode or whatever the case may be, if you have a question for us that you certainly want to make sure gets answered live on air, submit your question over to us at aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com. Again, that's aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com. I would ask everybody to please do me a favor, because of the fact that we do review Kiramager in the middle of the week. If you do submit a question over specifically for Kiramager or anything else, submit it over before 6 p.m. Central Time if you can. If not, certainly don't worry about it. Send it over whenever you can. But regardless, anytime during the week, if you have a question, if you see something that interests you that you want to have talked about or discussed on this week, on the week episode of A Plus More Phenomenal, at any time, send us your question at aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com. All right. And then other than that, guys, if you are looking for another home or a brand new home for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Tokusatsu stuff to talk about, this is certainly the place for you guys. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so as of yet, along with that bell notification. So when we do drop brand new videos, you'll be notified. And of course, if you love our content, guys, if you're here, especially in the live chat, hit that like button, guys. Give us that big thumbs up so YouTube can recognize our work and certainly recommend it to other people. That's certainly how we grow around here, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right here at A Plus Opinions. We're on our main hub, which is Facebook page. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, as well as Twitch, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely go ahead and follow us on social media. But other than that, that's going to wrap it up for us here this week. We definitely will be back later on next weekend. And of course, we've got Kiramager reviews. We've got some Go Buster reactions, Kamen Rider Saber reviews coming for you guys this week. And then we'll see you live next Saturday at noon Central Time. So until next time, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And may the power protect you. I'll talk to you later. Keep it A+. Bye.